6 long years, the Boston Red Sox were plagued by a curse so dark it seemed to haunt every game, every season, and every hopeful fan. It was called the Curse of the Bambino, and it began with a single fateful act. In 1918, the Red Sox sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to the New York Yankees. The moment he left, a shadow descended over the team, one that would stretch across nearly a century of heartbreak and despair. From that day forward, the Red Sox were cursed. Every time they came close to victory, something insidious would strike. An error, a missed chance, a call gone wrong. The ballpark grew thick with a sense of dread, as if the very air was saturated with the weight of a vengeful spirit. Fans would watch in agony as their team faltered, and whispers of the Bambino's ghost, restless and furious, swirled through the stands. For 86 years, the curse thrived. It tore through the hopes of generations, mocking the team with every failed attempt to win the World Series. Some believed the curse was a punishment, others a malicious joke, but all felt its grip, cold and relentless. Then, in 2004, the impossible happened. The curse was broken, but not without the lingering memory of its chilling presence. Even today, when the Red Sox play, a whisper lingers in the air, a reminder of the cursed years when victory seemed forever out of reach. In the dark corners of Latin America, where the night seems to swallow the very soul of the land, there lurks a creature born from the deepest shadows, El Cucuy. It is a monster of nightmares, a thing so vile and malevolent that even the bravest tremble at its name. A twisted ghost, it is said to feed on the fear of children, prowling the darkness like a predator waiting for its prey. El Cucuy comes in many forms, sometimes a shadowy figure with glowing eyes, sometimes a creature cloaked in tattered rags, its face hidden in darkness, but always it is the same, relentless, cruel, and hungry. The legend tells of children who refuse to sleep,
There is a small town tucked away in a forgotten corner of the countryside where something strange happened every morning at precisely 5 a.m. The townspeople called it the baby train. It was said that each day, without fail, a train would pass through, its whistle echoing through the empty streets, a sound that tore through sleep and dreams, leaving only the darkness before dawn. The whistle had an eerie quality, something that seemed to linger in the air long after the train was gone. It was almost like a voice, calling out to those still trapped in the haze of sleep, urging them to do something, anything, to fill the empty, unsettling hour. Couples would wake, eyes half open, feeling a compulsion they couldn't quite place. It was too early to start the day, too late to drift back into peaceful slumber. In that strange, suspended time, they turned to each other, as if possessed by some unseen force. Months passed, and soon the town found itself in the midst of a baby boom, a surge of infants born at almost exactly the same time. But there was something peculiar about the children. They were quiet, too quiet, their eyes wide and unblinking, as if they had brought something back with them from the foggy mornings when they were conceived. They grew quickly, their laughter echoing the train's whistle, high-pitched and almost unnatural, as if mocking the very people who had brought them into the world. The train still comes every morning at 5 a.m., and though the town has changed, the legend persists. The older residents warn newcomers, when you hear the whistle, stay in bed. Don't move, don't look out the window, and above all, don't answer the call. Because those born of the baby train are not quite like other children, and perhaps it's best not to add to their numbers. Late one stormy night, a teenage babysitter named Sarah sat alone in the darkened house, listening to the quiet breaths of the children sleeping upstairs. The air was thick with silence, only broken by occasional creaks echoing through the empty hallways. Suddenly, the phone rang, slicing through the silence like a knife. She jumped, her heart pounding as she answered. A low, gravelly voice whispered, "Have you checked the children?" Startled, Sarah shook off the unease, assuming it was a prank call. But the phone rang again, the same voice repeating, chillingly deliberate, "Have you checked the children?" An icy dread seeped into her bones. She slammed the phone down, but the relentless calls persisted, each one taunting her, each one making her feel more trapped, more exposed. Finally, she dialed the police, and they promised to trace the next call. Moments later, the phone rang. She picked up, and the whisper came again, "Check the children." The line clicked. Then the police came through urgently. "Get out of the house. The call is coming from inside." figure that descended, step by slow, ominous step.
In the mist-shrouded town of Cannon Beach, where the coastal fog blankets the landscape, locals share a chilling tale of the bandage man. They say he was once a logger, a man hardened by years of grueling labour, but fate twisted his life in a nightmarish direction when a brutal accident at the sawmill left him shredded, his body mangled by spinning blades, flesh torn and bones splintered. The legend tells of his agonising screams that echoed long after the sawdust settled, his body cloaked in blood-soaked bandages, clinging to life before death finally claimed him. Yet death did not bring him peace. No, it bound him to the land, cursed to wander the coastal roads and woods, an undying shadow of suffering and rage. Locals claim that the bandage man haunts the old logging roads, reeking of decay and vengeance, waiting to unleash his fury on unsuspecting travellers who dare cross his path. On a cold, moonless night, two teenagers named Lisa and Mark drove up to a secluded lookout on the cliff, their laughter carrying through the still night. They parked, content with each other's company and the eerie quiet surrounding them. But as they leaned in close, the car suddenly shook, as if struck by an unseen force. Startled, Mark scanned the darkness, his pulse quickening. Nothing but fog and shadow met his gaze. Then came a stench, the foul, sickly odour of rotting flesh and mould. It seeped into the car like an omen. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Lisa spotted a movement. A figure lumbering toward them, wrapped head to toe in filthy, blood-streaked bandages, his form twitching with unnatural jerks. His eyes glowed faintly beneath the layers, glinting with a twisted fury as he dragged his broken body closer, closer. Mark slammed the car into reverse, his hands trembling on the wheel. The bandage man reached the vehicle, clawing at the doors with cracked, bloodied fingers, smearing the glass with sticky red streaks. His muffled grunts turned to frenzied snarls as he pounded, each strike heavier, filled with unspeakable malice. His bandages hung loose, revealing glimpses of torn flesh and exposed bone beneath. Mark and Lisa's screams filled the car as he threw the vehicle into drive, tyres squealing as they sped down the winding road. But the bandage man didn't relent. He clung to the bumper, his bandaged face pressed against the rear window, eyes locked with theirs, as if daring them to look away. His grip grew stronger, pulling himself up inch by inch, his bandages trailing behind like gruesome streamers. With a final, desperate turn, Mark swerved off the main road, nearly careening into the forest as the car skidded to a halt. They waited, breath held, but the bandage man had vanished, his rotting scent lingering like a ghostly reminder. They dared not speak as they drove back to town, only to realise later that the windows bore streaks of dried blood and faint, hand-shaped smears. The townsfolk say that if you're driving alone on foggy nights and catch a whiff of that deathly odour, it means the bandage man is near, and he won't stop until he claws
claws his way into the car, claiming anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path, dragging them into his endless nightmare of pain and rage, bound forever by his bandages of blood. In the chilling winter of 1953, the quiet town of Bladenboro, North Carolina, was gripped by fear. It started with a single grisly discovery. A family dog, its body drained of blood, left lifeless on the icy ground. The town whispered of a shadow in the woods, a monstrous creature with eyes that gleamed in the dark and fangs sharp enough to tear flesh like paper. They called it the Beast of Bladenboro, or more hauntingly, the Vampire Beast. Each night, the body count rose. Livestock and pets were found slaughtered, their corpses mangled, throats punctured by jagged teeth. The beast struck with silent, brutal efficiency, leaving trails of blood-soaked snow, yet no paw prints or clues. Locals reported glimpses of a hulking, cat-like creature, its coat a menacing shade that seemed to meld with the shadows. Its movements were swift and unnaturally smooth, stalking its prey with the calculated precision of a seasoned predator. Panic spread, and townsfolk gathered rifles and flashlights, forming hunting parties to track the monster. But the beast seemed to toy with them, vanishing like a spectre before they could close in. At night, they heard the eerie, guttural growls echoing from the woods, chilling them to the bone. Hunters claimed to feel eyes watching from the darkness, as if the beast was studying them, mocking their futile efforts. Days turned into weeks, and the carnage continued. The town became paralysed, gripped by the terror of something unseen but all too real. Then, as abruptly as it had come, the creature vanished, leaving Bladenboro haunted and scarred. To this day, on the coldest nights of winter, when the wind howls through the trees, they say you can hear the faint growl of the Beast of Bladenboro, lurking just out of sight, waiting for his next hunt. On the desolate, wind-swept expanse of Bodmin Moor in Cornwall, a chilling legend stalks the night. The Beast of Bodmin Moor. This spectral creature, resembling a panther or leopard, has haunted the moorland since 1978, leaving a trail of terror and grisly evidence in its wake. It began with whispers of a shadowy figure lurking near the livestock, eyes like embers piercing the darkness. Farmers awoke to a nightmare of mutilated sheep and cattle, their bodies torn apart by something with terrifying strength and unrelenting savagery. The locals spoke of massive, feline-like paw prints left imprinted in the damp earth, too large for any known cat and too menacing to ignore. The beast of Bodmin Moor, as it became known, moved with eerie silence, slipping through the mist and granite tors like a ghost, stalking unseen yet ever present. Its black coat blended seamlessly with the night, making it nothing more than a flicker of movement in the moonlight. A glimpse, a shiver, then gone. Those unfortunate enough to encounter it described a low, guttural growl echoing through the stillness, a sound that lingered long after the beast had vanished into the shadows. Hunters and cryptid enthusiasts scoured the moor, hoping to glimpse the phantom cat, but the beast eluded them all, leaving only fleeting traces, a tuft of dark fur, claw marks in the trees, the overpowering stench of something primal. Some believe the beast of Bodmin Moor is still there, prowling, watching, a creature of legend and nightmare. And on misty nights, when the fog settles thick over the moor, the locals swear they can still hear it. A heavy, predatory silence, waiting just out of sight.